Hey there, Hoops fans. How you doing? It's your boy Jonathan Macri with you, and I'm not alone, of course. If we're talking about the NBA playoffs and we're talking about possibly a little bit of wagering on the NBA playoffs, I'm here with my compatriot from across the pond, Adam Taylor. Hello, sir.
What's up, man? I'm your compatriot that's not a patriot but wants to be a patriot. So it's a really weird way to explain it.
This is exactly what people want to hear. Is the
Of
genesis of compatriot from the is it the same as the word patriot? Do they come from like is I always when I hear compatriot I just think of like a companion or a coworker.
Yeah, me too. I'm just making a point that if anybody's listening wants to send me to America, I'll happily accept. Happily.
Anyway, so
in there, you know.
We are here, of course, courtesy of Odds Checker, the good folks at Odds Checker. Thank you to them for letting us come on here and talk a little bit of general NBA basketball, which we like to do from time to time. Adam, as you could see, if you are watching this, is really he's in mid playoff, mid postseason form. That's it, with the Space Jam hat on.
Yeah, loving it, dude.
Are you so Adam? You obviously cover the Celtics. You guys are. We should say we are recording this on Sunday morning. So the games that have been played on Sunday, or that by the time you're listening to this will have been played on Sunday, have not happened yet. That would be New York, Atlanta, Game 4, Phoenix, LA Lakers, Game 4, Brooklyn, Boston, Game 4, Clippers, Dallas, Game 4. Are you thinking that this is like a with the Brooklyn Boston series, a situation like halftime of Space Jam, where the Monstars are dominating and it looks like there's no hope for Michael Jordan and his merry band of cartoon characters, but Boston is going to fight back and Jason Tatum's going to extend his arm and.
So you see, because you're using a Michael Jordan reference on Jason Tatum, I'm inclined to agree and say yes. This is exactly what's happening right now. In reality, I kind of tweeted this out. Some people didn't really like how I worded things, but I think that if you look at the way that series has gone for Boston and how impactful the Celtics were in the first half of Game 1, and then the Nets kind of tweaked their rotations, played more Jeff Green at the 5, and then they just went on a rampage. The spacing opened up, the speed increased, and Brooklyn just played more fluidly. Game 2, Jeff Green's there playing that small ball 5 role again. They decimated everyone in front of them. Game 3, no Jeff Green. Spacing's not there. Boston had their merry little way.
So Jeff Green is the key.
Yeah, this is what I said. I said, Jeff Green, you can have your James Harden, your Kyrie Irving, KD, but no Jeff Green means no victory. And I just find it, obviously it doesn't work like that, but in a vacuum, that's kind of the narrative that I'm taking from it. Okay. So no Jeff Green equals it's time for Michael Jordan to stretch that arm. That's the secret stuff in this series. No Jeff Green.
It's a great secret. So we're going to talk some big picture stuff in a bit, but first we want to focus a little bit on the series that I cover, which is of course the Knicks playing the Atlanta Hawks. It's been an interesting series so far. I'm curious to get your impressions, Adam, because it's funny. This season has been, I mean, whatever adjective you want to use, magical. Compare it to a roller coaster ride where it's just nothing but it's all good. There's no bad. I don't know what kind of a roller coaster would that be though, because if you're just going up, that's not a very fun roller coaster. So there have been downs, but the downs have been fun. I don't know. The point is, it's been a great season. I think nothing but positivity, and yet now after 3 games, again, we'll see what happens on Sunday. There's kind of this a little bit more doom and gloom because the Knicks have played incredibly poorly. Specifically their offense. They have not been able to get their offense going, and their dare I say vaunted defense has struggled to contain the Trae Young pick and roll. And yet coming into Game 4, it's been a close series if you just look at the points scored. I mean, the teams have scored about the same amount of points. Obviously, the Hawks emerged with 2 victories. I actually don't even know that regardless of what happens on Sunday in Atlanta, it changes things that much because of how close it has been and how much, as they have all year, the Knicks have kind of battled. I said before the series, I thought it was going 7 games. I think almost regardless of what happens on Sunday, I still think this series has a good chance to go 7 games. What's your perception of the series watching from afar? I'm curious to get your take.
First of all, this has been one of my favorite series of the playoffs so
It's been
far.
fun. It's been fun.
Yeah, I also agree. It's going 7 games just to get the odds in there straight away. That's a plus 175. So I think that's probably good value. You're not going to really get much return off that, but it's the most likely outcome. I think
agree.
Derrick Rose is a bad man. I do. Derrick Rose is a bad man.
He's a bad man.
He has been absolutely breathtaking for moments of games. Just in his shot, his ability to create looks for him and others out of nowhere. And when Julius Randle isn't really hitting his shots the way he's been struggling, and I feel like Randle's ability to score is what helps him in his playmaking, because teams have to kind of, if he's not hitting shots, now you can just focus on clogging the passing lanes and dare him to keep shooting until he punishes you for that. You can't do that with Derrick Rose. I think Derrick Rose has been excellent. I also think he's good value to finish the series as the point scoring leader.
Ooh, I didn't even think of that. That's interesting because I think coming into the series, it was probably either Young or Randall was obviously the odds-on favorites.
But now I think Derrick Rose is what he's done, like a 26. He had a 30 piece in the last game.
He's and they can't stop him either. That's the thing.
Yeah,
they don't have anyone who could really.
And there's some serious value in that as well. In terms of betting odds, if I'm looking now, he's at the moment is at 150 to 1. So
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
that's pretty outstanding. I like that. Yeah, no, Rose has been great. They would probably be down 3-0 if it wasn't. Actually, no, they definitely would be down 3-0 if it wasn't for Rose. Yeah, I don't know. It's here's the thing about the Knicks. They've had so many moments this season where you're like, oh, it's gonna end, right? This is where the good times are over. So that's why you could sit here and again, regardless of what happens on Sunday, I think you like the thing going 7 games. I don't know that they're going to win it. I hope that they're going to win it. I picked them in 7 games. I'll stand by the pick 7 games, which I thought was good value if you were going to place again a few bucks on the series, how many games it's going to go. But we'll see. Let me ask you this: looking at both of these teams, so. Philadelphia won on Saturday, and not only did Philadelphia win on Saturday, they won in convincing fashion. They got out to a 30-14 lead, like less than 8 minutes into the game in Washington, against the Wizards team that knew that their season was essentially going to be over if they lost that game. And Philly was like, "No, we're just going to end your season right now." They still have one more game to win. Would you give where do you see the next round as far as do you give the Knicks or the Hawks a puncher's I don't even want to say to win against Philly because I think that's a little bit too much, but a puncher's chance to take that series to make it a series?
I think that the issues with Atlanta's defense, and if you can't stop Derrick Rose, then no disrespect to Derrick Rose, but he isn't the Derrick Rose from Chicago. But if you're struggling to stop a Derrick Rose pick and roll, how on earth are you going to stop a Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid pick and roll? And that's going to be an issue for every team in the league. But I think that because of the defense and the way that Tibbs has got you guys like prepared, you understand every assignment, every seam, every pick and roll action that they're going to run. I think the Knicks would actually probably make it a better game. Obviously, Nerlens Noel is
really.
Yeah, I don't think Noel's prepared for Joel Embiid. I think Noel's going to be made to look like a baby.
Listen, I'd love to get the opportunity to have the challenge. I prefer Taj Gibson in that matchup myself.
Yes, I think you prefer anybody other than. I think Noel's been fantastic for you as a shot blocker and
he's been fine. He's been
great.
He's been fine.
He's not gonna keep up with Embiid, and neither's Clint Capella. So it's either way.
Well, hold on about that, because that's why I think the series that Hawks Sixers series would at least be interesting, because I think Capella, no one's gonna stop Joel Embiid. By the way, do you know what Joel? I looked this up this morning because I was actually writing something for Odds Checker. Do you know what the Sixers on court net rating is? With Embiid on the court in this series. So how many points per 100 possessions are the Sixers outscoring the Wizards by? And
I'm going to go with 34.
It's a little higher than that. It's almost 40. It's 39 and change. Not great that we're talking about a 3-game sample size here, but
I mean,
still,
I was close as well.
You were very. I'm shocked you were that close. I would not have.
Seriously though, like, look, I understand from a Atlanta perspective, you've got the spacing, you've got the scoring, but I think that the way the Sixers have been constructed, and why I personally think they're one of the biggest threats to Brooklyn in the East.
We're gonna get to long-term East stuff, yeah.
Is because of their length, their wingspans, the fact that they've got multiple long perimeter defenders that can contest 3-point shooting. And if you can do that against a team like Atlanta that rely predominantly on that high pick and roll 3-point pull-up shooting, I think that the Nets are actually the Sixers are really well designed to limit Atlanta's best weapons, whereas New York, it's not about that. New York just want to punch you in the mouth repeatedly until you succumb to their muscle.
Which is funny, because like they have punched, a little bit in this playoffs, but they haven't been able to. But the punching has been coming on defense, and I guess a little bit on offense here and there.
How do you feel about Reggie Bullock blowing into Trae Young's hair?
Did he do that?
Yeah, he done a Lance Stevenson. He was leaning over Trae.
I swear, I this is the first I'm hearing of this.
I'm going to send you the video.
Please send me the video.
Very Lance Stevenson-esque.
When you said Reggie Bullock's name, I thought you were going to say, how do you feel about the fact that Reggie Bullock has not been able to take advantage of Trae Young on defense? At which point I was going to get a little of my feelings. But that's the other thing. Again, looking forward, is the Knicks are they've done wonders with what they have. They are not a team that is built necessarily to matchup hunt, because they just don't have too many of those sorts of players. It's basically Randall and Rose, and that's it. RJ Barrett, we love him, but he's not quite there yet. The Sixers are going to be able to hunt Atlanta's subpar defenders, if it gets to that. And I think they're going to make it's going to be frustrating for me to watch as someone who roots for the Knicks. But they're going to be not that they'll be able to like play Trae Young off the court, but they're going to be able to really make the Hawks feel that. And then on the other end, you have a guy like Matisse Thybulle, who I just looked it up, he played 18 minutes against the Wizards yesterday. Again, he's not out there for his offense. Obviously, he's the best perimeter defender in the league, if not Ben Simmons. So the fact that you have both of those guys and you have Joel Embiid to then cover up the pick and roll, I think for as much as like Atlanta might come out of this New York series looking very impressive, I also think that there's a chance that the Sixers, if they face the Hawks, could just that could get ugly. Maybe a 4-1 type of deal. But I agree with you. I bet you the Knicks would, if they got there, I bet you the Knicks stole a couple games just by
I'd see it going
hook or by crook. 6
game. I see the Knicks being a 6-game series, whereas I honestly truly believe there's a viable outlook of a sweep against Atlanta,
Which is so funny because they could win against New York in 5 games.
On paper, they're the better team.
Yeah, they are.
When you're talking matchups and the way things kind of go against each other, I do think that the Nets are very well designed to limit 3-point shooting teams.
The Sixers, you mean?
Yep, I keep saying the Nets. I do apologize.
I think that's a Freudian slip. I wonder why you keep doing that. There must be a reason. Maybe I
genuinely, it's because I see the Nets as a predominant 3-point shooting team, and I see the Sixers as their number one.
Okay, that's fair. So you're already looking ahead. So this is exceptional podcasting. We are already looking ahead to Nets Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals, which means I'll anger all of the dozens of Milwaukee Buck fans listening to this. You are, much like the Heat were, being dismissive, my friend,
this is
of the Milwaukee Bucks.
I think that the Bucks are just as well suited to get into the conference finals, but I think that Brooklyn could beat Milwaukee in a 7-game series where I'm not so sure they could beat Philadelphia in that 7-game series.
So right now the Nets are still the favorites to and we're looking at odds have not been updated going into this past weekend, but they're not going to change that much given the events of what has been transpiring, because the 4 favorites are all looking pretty good, although we still have to see the Nets and Lakers play on Sunday. But Nets essentially 2-1, Lakers 3-1, and then you got the Bucks a little bit worse than 4-1, and then the Sixers are a little bit about 6-1. And those are your 4 big boys. We'll see what happens with the Clippers and the Mavs. Where that series goes. That to me, you said you've really enjoyed the Knicks Hawks series. I think this Clippers Mavs series is great theater myself.
Yeah, it's been fun, dude. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I find it fascinating how much the Clippers have struggled over the first couple of games. They've kind of figured it out in game 3, pulled a game back.
But that's the thing. They actually, after game 2, Paul George was like, no, we're not worried. We're not concerned, this and that. And then they showed up in game 3 and they
were good. They look good.
They look like a team that was like, don't worry, we got this. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we're just coasting at the moment. We haven't even hit top gear. But I don't know whether or not. See, I mean, for me, this Clippers team, if they don't figure out a way to get to a finals this year or a conference finals,
well,
it's gonna create shockwaves around the league once they start reconstructing that roster.
I mean, Kawhi's free agency obviously looms.
Yeah. And I think that they know that as well in the locker room, that if you want to keep Kawhi, I mean, the thing with Kawhi is Kawhi won a championship and still left Toronto. So obviously winning or not winning isn't going to be the deciding factor in keeping him, but winning's sure going to help.
Well, I mean, he's in LA, so that's where he wants to be. I think that'll be a big factor. I want to throw a couple finals matchup odds at you. So we just talked about the Sixers. You just talked about how much you like the Sixers against the Nets, possibly because they can shut down the shooting. So Sixers Lakers finals odds plus 1,200. So you're getting 12-1 odds on a Sixers Lakers finals matchup. So if you really believe, Adam Taylor, that the Sixers are the team to beat in the East and that they have a good chance of emerging, and then you think LeBron James and Anthony Davis are just going to figure it out, 12-1, that's not bad.
I honestly think that I'm a big subscriber in offense is going to win you a single game, and defense is going to win you a championship. And I think that if you look at the defense,
and by the way, who are the top 2 defenses in the league this year?
The Lakers and Sixers. Yep. I genuinely believe that the defensive acumen of the players on that Sixers rotation is just far superior to anybody else in the East. I think that the next team up to you is Milwaukee.
So Milwaukee Lakers is plus 1,400. I'll say this, I mean, if you were a Nets doubter, you could just go Sixers Lakers and Bucks Lakers, and whichever one you're going to make money. Even Nets Lakers is plus 550. So you're talking 5. I mean, you could really place three bets in as long as the Lakers made it.
I like how we're just like, the Lakers are going.
Well, but okay, so then let's talk about that. Obviously, but so Chris Paul's injury has changed that series. We'll see.
Always in the playoffs as well, right? Chris Paul always. His luck is just ridiculously bad.
I mean, yeah, but he's a small guard. He's a small guard, and who's the other? I mean, to me, he's the heir apparent to Isaiah Thomas, and Isaiah Thomas, on that Pistons team, won 2 championships. But what everybody figured was going to be, one of the, I don't know, 20 or 25 greatest careers in NBA history was essentially cut short after a decade, more or less, because his knee issues. Paul's issues have been other maladies, and his career has gone longer. Different conversation for a different day. But again, we're recording this before the Lakers play the Suns on Sunday. I don't really think this this game matters. I think the Lakers are going to win the series. I think that looks pretty clear. Next up, they would get the winner of Nuggets Portland, which has been a very fun series.
It's been scrappy.
It's been scrappy, but like
I love scrappy basketball. That's the best type of basketball.
but at the same time, the Nuggets came out on Saturday and they're like very clearly played with the, okay, we already got one in Portland, we're content. Like they did not defend like a team. They did not defend like a playoff team in that game. So, but again, that's another series. Probably going to go 7 games. Someone's going to win. Does it really matter who wins as far as facing the Lakers in the next round? Honestly, I don't think so. So you pencil in the Lakers into the conference finals where they presumably would face either, all due respect to the Memphis Grizzlies, either the Jazz, the Clippers, or the Mavericks. Do you really think the Mavs are going to beat the Lakers? No.
I don't think the Clippers beat the Lakers either.
Well, I was going to save them for that. Well, who do you think has a better chance of beating the Lakers, the Jazz or the Clippers?
That's a good question.
So
you've got to say the Clippers just because of the star power that they've got, but the Jazz are such a well-oiled machine.
So the Jazz odds to win the finals 8-1. You could, which means you could probably get them to make it to the finals at something, more or less double that. Jazz, yeah, but you could. I mean, man, you get some really decent odds.
14-1 for the Clippers to win it all.
No, I don't. That's not. You know what? When the time to get on the Clippers would have been? It would have been before Game 3. You probably could have gotten some really nice. Yeah. In any case, all due respect to Utah. Do you see them making the? Do you see them beating the Lakers? I just don't see it.
No, I don't see it. I don't. Honestly, I just think that the Lakers they've built with size and they've built with defense in mind, and they're just too capable. They've got the spacing on offense, but their defense has always been the first port of call for them. And I said it on the last episode, the first one we did, because we're on episode 2. Congratulations to me and you.
We made it.
We made it. They brought us back for another episode. But the one thing that really stuck out to me was the fact that you finished the season with the number 1 defensive record in the league when your 2 star players missed a very large portion between them. And that to me tells you how much defensive depth they have. And I just think that I don't see how Rudy Gobert changes too much for the way he'll just get bodied.
Yeah. I trust Anthony Davis against Rudy Gobert.
Yeah,
in short.
I trust Andre Drummond to make Rudy Gobert feel his presence on the post too.
You lost me at I trust Andre Drummond.
I don't trust him to do well. I just trust him to make sure Rudy Gobert knows he's there. There's a big difference.
Again, regardless of whether they go down 3-1 or they tie it up 2-2, I can't completely quit the Clippers. Although, based on what we've seen now from them for a sample size of really 2 years with this core,
it's not working.
I don't know how you could pick. So Lakers. If you think LeBron's got a repeat in him, which again he's already done this once in his career, he repeated with the Heat. Lakers over Sixers plus 2,500. You get 25-1 odds. You could still get, I believe, I'm pretty sure, on Lakers over the Sixers in the finals.
Who do you think's coming out of the East? Because we've gone with who I think's coming out of the East.
It's interesting because I picked Lakers over, or I think, did I pick Lakers over Nets? Yeah, I think I picked Lakers over. I picked Lakers Nets to appear in the finals before the season started. I picked Lakers versus Nets before the playoffs started. And it's not like the Nets have played badly at all. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical. Here's the thing. I think seeing Milwaukee run roughshod over Miami in the way that they were.
That was callous, dude.
In the way that they were, that is a team playing with all sorts of confidence right now. And they're not the defensive team that the Sixers are, obviously. And they also got a tough injury, by the way. We should mention Dante DiVincenzo is going to be out now for the rest of the playoffs. He was their other starting player after the big three and Brook Lopez. That said, they do still have your boy, Bryn Forbes.
Who I told everybody was going to be solid at the start of the year.
You've been on the Bryn Forbes bandwagon.
I was telling nobody listened to me, dude. Nobody listened.
The guy doesn't miss. So I'm actually curious what they'll do moving forward. Actually, I should know this, obviously. Again, exceptional podcasting. Who they started in place of DiVincenzo in their last game. I'll look that up right now. But what I was gonna say is I just a team playing with that much confidence and that can throw Drew Holiday on, one of the Nets two guards, whether it's Irving or Harden. And look, you're not going to shut James Harden down. I get that. So I'm actually curious if it is indeed that matchup, which it certainly looks like it's going to be.
They started Connaughton.
They started Connaughton. Okay, so Connaughton, better defensive player, makes some sense. Keep Forbes scoring off the bench. You don't really need his scoring in the starting lineup. As much as Connaughton's not a great defender, but he's a good defender. So that's interesting. So but then get Middleton matched up on the other guard. I would presume Middleton would take Harden, and then stick Giannis on Durant and say, look, man, you were the defensive player of the year last year in the NBA. Go earn it, and then trust that Milwaukee could score enough on the other end, which is why I kind of like the matchup, because again, the Nets have not shown the ability to stop, a brisk wind yet. This when it really matters, and they lost twice to Milwaukee at the end of the year. What'd you say, Boston?
So Boston, in my opinion, this series between Boston and Brooklyn is split 1.5 each, because Boston won the first half of game one, lost the second half, lost all the game two, and then won game three.
They should rejigger the rules. They should rejigger the rules.
And there's a method to my madness of explaining it like this. What Boston have done in that 1.5 games is they limited Joe Harris. And when they've removed Joe Harris from that equation, when now you're forcing them to have to beat you with the Kyrie, Harden, KD pick and rolls that they've run between the three of them, and you're forcing the shots to become more difficult.
Which is great. I mean, but it's hard.
But once these guys get hot, it's very, very tough. But if you've got Drew Holiday and Giannis in place of Marcus Smart and Jason Tatum, and you're doing the exact same methodology, yep, you know the word.
Yeah.
I think that you've actually got a very consistent success blueprint there. I think that Giannis can limit KD's effectiveness offensively more as much as you can. He can contain KD better.
Giannis has, I would argue, make sure before I say this out loud, because I can't take it back once I say, I would argue that in terms of, I'm not saying that Giannis Antetokounmpo is bar none, like the best defender against Durant in the league, but I think he has the highest ceiling of any player in the league in terms of limiting Durant because of just, his physical makeup. I'm not sure if there's a guy that I would trust more specifically against Durant to slow Durant down than Giannis. And Drew, I think Drew Holiday is the best perimeter defender, the best guard defender in the league. And I don't even think that's a ceiling issue. I just think he's the flat out best. I think Giannis, there's
unequivocally the best. Like, that's one of the reasons why it was such a big acquisition from.
I mean, look, they look. Milwaukee's not stupid. They knew the Harden, as did everybody in the league who had a brain. They knew Harden was gonna wind up, in Brooklyn. Yeah. So I think that has to do with why they made that trade. They're ready for the series. I'm not saying Milwaukee. But, well, actually, hold on. There's two sides to this. You could say, okay, Milwaukee either beats Brooklyn outright. Milwaukee pushes it to 7 and loses, but Brooklyn is beat up from that series, and they come out, and the Sixers, meanwhile, are coming off maybe a 4 or 5 game romp. And they're the more rested team. They're more physically ready. Or you could say Brooklyn's will look at this as like, these are our finals right now, and if we get past it, we know we could beat anyone, and they're further emboldened against the Sixers. So three possible choices there. Two bad for Brooklyn, one good for Brooklyn. So you're asking me, like, this is a very obviously long-winded way of answering your question about like who do I like? Yeah, yes, I have liked Brooklyn all along, and now I'm like, So I don't know. Maybe I'm talking myself into the Bucks. So then you're talking about, okay, so the Bucks need to beat the Nets and then the Sixers and then whoever comes out. But if
the Sixers have the easier route, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, but is that a gift or a curse?
It can be both.
Exactly.
That's my both. What I will say is a big thing for me is the fact that there's no continuity in Brooklyn at the moment. They haven't got the game time together. We haven't seen them be as a unit, as a big three and a rotational core. We haven't seen them much through the regular season, so we haven't seen them have to fight over that adversity. And I think Milwaukee could really test their like locker room spirit and really test how well they can play together once you need those ISOs.
Yeah, no. Man, I'm thinking of
the East is tough this year, man. And it's
just
beautiful, it's glorious.
It's great. It's great. I'm just looking at some of the long-term odds here. And there's some interest, like you could get the Bucks to lose in the finals. You get plus 600, 6-1. That's interesting. There's a lot of good prop bets out there. And if you like any of these, go to obviously Odds Checker for all your wagering purposes. But it's a good time to get in on this stuff because it's still early enough, and there's still enough uncertainty where the value is out there. I don't know. I kind of like some of these Lakers, Bucks, Lakers, Sixers. Some of these machinations. All right, so we're talking. So fast forward, we'll end here. Fast forward to next week when we record this. I don't know if we're going to record it on Sunday again, but whatever. We'll record again in about a week. What is one storyline you think will emerge over the next week? Either like Team X is like the team to beat all of a sudden, or it's like the clear team to beat, or like, so and so such and such team is doomed, or I don't know, maybe you think we're looking at like a big game 7 somewhere that we're not expecting right now. What are we leading the show with next week?
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one narrative at the moment is what's riding for Portland beyond this playoff series, and
that's interesting.
What losing actually means for this roster as a whole. Like, I was listening to Kendrick Perkins on All the Smoke earlier this week.
Oh, Kendrick, good old Kendrick.
Yeah, I'm like, I've spoke with Perk, but he's a nice guy. I understand his takes can be of the very spicy variety.
I like Perk. Perk's good, man.
But in terms of All the Smoke, I like that show because they keep it like they're upfront with their takes. What I did like was the fact that they said something to me that I've kind of heard whispered around people that I speak with, that if Portland don't win this series, if they don't make it to a finals this year, then it's most likely that they start making some fundamental changes to that roster. And I think that's a big narrative now. I think that, to me, means they're going to be playing to stay together, especially guys like Dame and CJ that are like 8 years deep playing alongside each other. Portland have waited out CJ's injuries early in that roster construction to see where and I think that now these guys will start forcing some tough games. So I think there's going to be a real scrappy series against Denver. I think Denver most likely will win. And then I think that the biggest series will be, and I don't want that because I want to see Carmelo Anthony go to a finals. I'm more Knicks.
I'm not sure you're gonna get that wish, buddy.
I know,
not this season at least.
But I do think that that's going to be one of the biggest narratives: is what happens to this Portland team if they don't get past the first or second round.
No, I think it has. If they get to if they get to the next round and they lose to who would it be? They lose to the Lakers. Like, whatever. It is what it is. I'm going to go a little bit more. I'm going to expand that a little bit. I'm going to go more like, where is what city are we at? What's the worst DEFCON? DEFCON 5 or DEFCON 1? I forget if it goes up or down. I think it's DEFCON 1 is the worst.
DEFCON 1, yeah.
Yeah,
and that's
okay.
going to be Brooklyn once Boston force a game 7.
No, but seriously,
I'm being serious.
Listen. Again, we're recording this before Game 4, Brooklyn Boston. Crazier shit has happened. All it takes is one tweaked ankle. So that's my biggest question: is where is the DEFCON 1? Is it in Brooklyn? I would guess not. Is it in Los Angeles with the Clippers? That's probably the most likely. Does Memphis mess around and win a game on Monday to tie that series at 2-2? And then where does that leave Utah, who obviously has championship aspirations? Portland's another one. Like, there's going to be a DEFCON 1 situation.
On both conferences, there's going to be one on both, I think. And I think if I'm going to put not a hot take, but if I'm going to do one of my Adam says things that probably won't come true moments, I'm going to go with Brooklyn are going to be at DEFCON 1, and so are Utah.
Wow. Okay. I don't think it's going to be
Memphis Grizzlies will really put some pressure on.
I think the Jazz are gonna. I think the Jazz are gonna win this series in 5.
I've got it in 6 or 7. I've got it in 7.
You want to end? Let's do this. Let's end with some shorter term predictions. So let's go series by series. Knicks Hawks. What do you think is going to end? Who's going to win?
I think Knicks Hawks is going to go to 7, and I've got the Knicks.
I will also go with Knicks in 7. Sixers Wizards. You think that ends in
ends
4 games?
Game. Yeah, ends
next game. Okay, I agree.
What are the odds on that for that to happen?
Oh, I mean, the Sixers are favored in that. Excuse me, the Sixers are favored in that game. I think by 7.5. It's under double digits, the spread. Clippers Mavs.
I've got that going to 7 as well, and I think the Clippers just squeak it. And I mean squeaky. It's going to be a buzzer beater or an overtime in Game 7. You disagree? I know you're a.
I also think it will go 7. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'll go Clippers in 7 as well. I'm gonna go Jazz in 5 over the Grizzlies. You got that going?
I've got going 7.
You really? If that goes, that would be astounding. If that goes 7,
I've got that going 7. Just because I really think Ja Morant's gonna announce himself on this stage.
I think he already has kind of announced himself. Brooklyn. Okay, we got Brooklyn, Boston. This is the big one. Are you putting your money where your mouth is?
I've got Brooklyn in 6.
Part of you wants to say Brooklyn in 6. It's just basically just, are they going to win? Who's going to win this game on Sunday? I'll go. To be contrarian, I'll go Brooklyn in 5.
In 5, okay, it's a gentleman sweep.
Denver, Portland. I'm going to go Denver in 7.
I'm going to go Portland in. No, I'm going to go Denver in 7 too.
Okay, and then Lakers, Suns. Oh God, I'm going to feel bad with this. I'll go Lakers 6.
That's nice. I'm gonna. that was quite. I
was like, listen.
That's nice.
It is nice.
I'm gonna go Lakers in 5. I don't think the Suns win again.
That was my initial inclination, but okay.
That's nice.
It was nice. This is fun as always. Don't forget. You could find us both on Twitter. I'm at JC Macri NBA, and Adam Taylor is at Adam Taylor NBA.
You remembered?
After our conversation last week, I remember. Don't forget, check out. You could. I write for Odds Checker almost every day, so you can check out my pieces, which are covering, my picks for each game on the site.
And if you don't win off Macri's predictions, tag both of us so I can see you berating him just for fun.
Feel free to you berate me all you want. All right. And on that note, we will see everybody with another episode next week. Peace out.